Welcome to the Passive Income MD podcast, where we talk about creating your ideal life through multiple streams of income. If you enjoy hearing about this stuff, make sure to hit subscribe. Now let's get on with the show.
Hey everyone, of course, I'm thrilled to welcome our next guest. Troy, I feel like you should be co-hosting this podcast with me sometimes. I feel like it because you're here so much. We love talking with you. This is Troy Eckard. Has 40 years of experience in this whole industry and space of oil, gas, and energy investments. He's the CEO and founder of Eckard Enterprises. He's raised over $1 billion in capital, owning interest in over 7,000 wells and 1.5 million acres of reserves. Since I've known him, he's been someone that's been known as innovative in terms of his strategies and trying to figure this out. He's also extremely personable, meaning that he creates amazing relationships with his partners, his investors. And of course, he's been just been the master of finding really great opportunities. And of course, somebody that's really knowledgeable about the times in terms of the economy and what's going on today. I love talking to him. I always learn something new. Troy, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Peter. Thanks again for having me on the show, or at least hosting with you and talking about relevant subject content that matters to all of us, right? It's important.
Yeah, I think we talked, we've done a good job talking about oil and gas in the past or mineral rights, and we talk about some of the benefits of it. And I think people who have been listening to this podcast for a while have actually started to really understand the space, at least to some degree. But I still think there's a lot that we don't know about it. Why, I'd say just from the beginning, maybe, what are some misconceptions? I always thought about this. There's a question I want to ask you. What are maybe some of the misconceptions then that people or physicians should know about when it comes to investing in oil and gas? Maybe we could start with that.
Yeah, I think the first misconception is 40 years of being in the business. From the 1985 when I started to now, people think this is like a craps game in Vegas. Like there's not a relevant game plan. There's not a long-term strategy to energy. It's kind of, hey, today I have a big income. I need a tax write-off. Let me throw some well and drilling. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But, I kind of understand a little bit about the tax advantage. So I'll put my toe in the water. What I find with medical professionals is because you guys as an industry spend 12, 16 years to become what you are, which is a doctor, a dentist, somebody that's got a degree and you're experts and skilled. You don't take that same skill level and apply it to oil and gas by saying, well, yeah, with petroleum engineer, a geologist, a geophysicist, a petroanalyst, all these different skill sets. They may not have as long of education, but they're dealing with the same thing you are as a medical professional. You got a patient, it has a condition, it has subsequent events, it has all kinds of pushes and pulls, the whys, wherewithals. So you're so analytical when it comes to your profession, but you don't apply that to energy, which means you're really just trying to look at the green light on your dashboard saying, what is green today? Tomorrow it's red. And so you either enter and get lucky and it doesn't last, or you get in and it's bad right off the bat and you go, tried it, done, never do it again. That's the difficult part about having different occupations that have a desire to be in energy and how they relate from a farmer, engineer, or a medical professional. They all have different backgrounds and why they approach it differently. And so 40 years of experience says, I got to figure out how I get the message to each person or each skill set.
Well, I would say a lot of times doctors that are thinking about investing, just investing in general, but especially in this field, it just feels more like a little bit of a black box to us. Which is, I think, why I think you spent a lot of time trying to educate people. And I've also spent a lot of time educating people in this area. But the point of investing in something like this is, for many people, they just want to create another stream of income. And they want to do it passively. They don't want to create another job for themselves because they're already so busy on their day job. And so they want to find another area. And again, people have heard there's tax benefits in doing some of this investing. And so they go into this area. So how should we be doing it differently?
Well, the first thing I would say is that you as an investor, regardless of your profession, you have to decide that the characteristics and attributes of that asset class is something that's beneficial to you, right? So, everything we look at, from whether it's real estate, and then there's 1,000 categories of real estate, right? I don't see doctors wanting to go out and do single family buy and flip. You're up at 3 a.m, you're doing medical procedures, practice patient, you're hearing whining all day long. Last thing you want to hear is somebody whining about the hot water heater not working. I could see that being like, that's the last thing I want to hear. So depending on the way you are as a medical professional, you're saying to yourself, I can do this job I'm doing and I can make a lot of money, but where's the exit off the merry-go-round? How do I replace that income? Sooner or later, my legs, my back, my brain, my patients, dealing with patients and hospitals and insurance companies. When do I get off the merry-go-round? And that's pretty much in every profession. So I think what doctors or medical professionals in general could do, dentists or whoever they are, one thing they could do is they could say, all right, if I laid out 10 or 15 different investment asset classes and I listed the attributes, the risk, the benefits, the rewards, and I kind of looked at it as a grouping, I can say, well, easily I'll pick the ones that have the higher rate of return. Easily I'll go to the one that have the tax benefits, but they never look at it and say, well, what's the results? Well, I do this over here and it gives me tax benefits, but I lose 9 out of 10 times the other money besides my tax dollars. Well, that just means you just threw away 2/3 of your income. I'm not doing that. So I think one of the things is if medical professionals would start looking at energy in the same analytical process that they do their profession, they would come to the conclusion every single person has to have energy in their portfolio because it affects every other part of your portfolio, right? Morticians will never lose their jobs. Doctors will never lose their jobs. Farmers will never lose their jobs other than bad economic times. But I'm just saying there's certain professions you're just guaranteed a job. When I look at asset class or commodity, one day lithium may not be needed, right? One day they may find an alternative source to lithium. They might find an alternative source to copper or silver or the other. But you're not going to ever do without fossil fuels because everything in my office is made from it. So if I'm looking at asset classes as a medical professional, what can I invest in that can give me cash flow that really I can do it hands off? I don't have to think about it. I just want it to make me money for a long period of time. And I want to do it where it's repeatable, it's consistent, and it may have a lot of tax benefits with it. This is just what I think the medical professionals have to think about is how do you take the same analytics toward this class or any asset class?
I mean, I think the challenge for us oftentimes, I think you put that really well, is like access. Like we don't know where to start. I think one of the things we do know really well is if somebody has an issue. So one of them, I mentioned this recently. One of the best things about being a doctor is, we don't get like special access to certain restaurants or clubs or anything like that. What we do get is when one of our family members gets hurt or is sick, we know who to talk to and we know immediately and we know how to evaluate. We know how to do due diligence on finding a good surgeon or, a good oncologist or whatever that is. But when it comes to like something like this, like, how should we even get started in figuring out who do we trust? How do we go to? Like, maybe you can kind of give us some insights into like what kind of questions we should be asking or how to get started down that journey.
Yeah, I think the first thing I would do is I would look at it the exact opposite you just said it. So I put myself in a patient position. Let's say I had a lump on my neck. I thought it was a tumor. I go, well, what the hell do I do about it? Who do I go to? Do I go to a dermatologist? Do I go to an oncologist? Do I go to MD Anderson in Houston because I'm in Dallas? Is it bad? Is it benign? I mean, I had face cancer about 3 years ago, and the first dermatologist said, oh, it's just a little bitty size of a dime. I go on to a guy that's connected with MD Anderson. He does the Mohs surgery. He goes, your whole face was loaded with it. Had to put a 6-inch scar on my face. He goes, it was spreading like crazy. Had to listen to the first guy. Who knows what it would have been like, right? Well, I think investment's the same way. You go to somebody who goes, well, I'm just a small oil and gas guy, and I got a little company, and I don't have overhead. I just follow the majors and buy little crumbs. So I'm very small. I'm innocent. If you lose a little money, it's not going to hurt you. I'm just a little guy. Well, I'm not going to go to some guy in a strip center and says, hey, he's a brain surgeon and he's just trying to save money by not having a nurse. And he likes to use tools left over from the hospital. He can buy half price at the back of the hospital. So I think common sense applies. The first common sense is, and I'm just going to be candid in oil and gas because the medical profession, you guys have your own way of kind of ranking who you trust. You say, okay, there's 4 neurologists. Which one's the best? It's not who has the highest survival rate. It's the one who's going to tell you, honestly, you don't need brain surgery. There's other treatments. Or if you do need brain surgery, this is the right way to do it at the right hospital. With oil and gas, it's the same way. If I'm looking at oil and gas, the first question any person should ask is, tell me your background. How long have you been in this business? Tell me what you've done. What I love about my doctors is the guy I went to do my face, I guess he's like 72 years old. He had 2 other dermatologists in his office who quit their practices to learn his procedures because he's an expert at the suturing part. So it leaves your face less scarred because he does work on actors and musicians and people who are public. And he goes, this is my expertise. And literally the both of them were doing the work and they go, we came here for that reason. So if you take that analogy to oil and gas, if you just ask them, say, show me what you've done the last 10 years. Oh, I was selling multifamily 5 years ago, but now I have this expertise. The first thing is the who, right? It's bottom line. The second thing is prove it to me. Show me in black and white. And they won't do it. So as an oil and gas, let's say I was a doctor today, I said, I want to invest in oil and gas. I'm going to put in the URL line, I'm going to say, long-term sponsors of oil and gas, 10 plus years. You probably won't find, but maybe 1 or 2, right? You have US Energy, you got MDS, a few others like King Operating will show up. I don't mind mentioning their names. Okay, so fine. So I've narrowed down the scope of 50 that claim they're oil and gas experts. I'm down to 4. Then I'm going to say, okay, lawsuits against these sponsors. Going to pop up something, right? I'm going to put down regulatory cease and desist, SEC violations, etc. Then I'm going to take every principal and put in the URL line. Now, this is 30 minutes worth of poking around on the internet, right? Mm-hmm. I'm going to put down each principal's name, and you'll watch 9 out of 10 principals' name. You can't find out information about them. You don't know where they live. You should be able to Google Troy Eckard and find me all over the internet. I Google these guys' names. You can't find squat. It's like they're ghosts. In today's environment, if you can't find out about somebody the last 5, 10, 15 years, that is not a red flag. That is a run, baby, run message to me, right? So the simplest thing for anybody, whether you're a doctor, whether you're a lawyer, engineer, is just go to the fundamentals. It's the who. It's the what you've been doing to tell me you're an expert in your field. I'm going to do a Google search on lawsuits, violations, cease and desist, fraud. I put in con artist in my URL. I put in fraud. I put in Ponzi scheme. I put in all this stuff in the URL. And what I usually find is one or two things: really seedy background that pops up 10, 15 years ago and they changed their name or middle initial, or I find nothing. The nothing almost scares me more than the URL name. Let's say I get past that. Okay, now I'm past that. Now I got 4 people. Now the question I'm going to say to all 4, I'm going to email all 4. I'm going to say, I'm going to look and see what you've done previously as success. Show me your track record. 3 out of 4 will not send you the track record. Because why? They can't defend it. It looks horrific. They'll come up with a story why they've changed and they're better today. But realistically, it'd be like telling the doctor, well, you've been a surgeon for 20 years. What's your kill ratio? How many patients have you lost on the table? It's a harsh way to say it, but yeah. I want to know. I went in for a really bad accident. I had a scuba diving accident. So I went to this guy who was trying to manage my esophagus and stuff because I had all this nitrogen buildup. After about 5 visits, he's supposed to be the stud, a gastrologist, whatever he's called, down in San Antonio. He goes, we're just going to have to send you to pain management, just figure out how to manage your pain because I don't know the answer. I go, you're supposed to be the best in your class? That's not an answer. That's like, I have no clue and I'm not going to waste my time on you. You're not important. I went to another doctor who solved the problem. I'm good as gold, right? This is my passion. My passion is there is a lot of money to be made. I'm 61 this summer and my whole personality has changed the last 3 years. I care so much about investors, making them smart, because I'm so tired of seeing how much money they lose to the crooks and liars. So when you and I talk, one of the things I want to really express to those that are watching this is, look, oil and gas is a really great business. It makes a lot of money. It makes today in this environment, it is just unbelievably opportunistic, right? The problem is the sharks know it too. So why Florida has more shark bites than any other place? Because all the food comes to Florida to swim. They go, well, all the food's coming to us. When you say oil and gas and the president of the United States says, drill, baby, drill, the sharks put out all these websites saying, we're going to give you what you want, and they're going to eat you alive. So if I'm a physician, I'm a doctor, I'm an anesthesiologist, I'm a dentist, I'm a medical professional, I'm a radiologist, I don't have time to mess around with anybody who's not candid and it won't give me what I want. Here's what I want. I need your antecedents. I want to know who owns your company. I want to see your track record. I want you to tell me if you have any violations, lawsuits, cease and desist, felonies, and I want it back in writing. This is important. I want it in writing because if it's in writing and they lie, that's fraud with intent, which is criminal. If you ask them in person, they can say, oh, you misunderstood me. So fraud without intent is not criminal. It just means oopsie, right? And I think the problem is no one will put it in writing. So I put everything in writing. I put everything out in tracker. I put everything out in emails and videos. And then I invite everybody to my conference. I said, look, if I'm a liar, you're going to know it in 24 hours. You're going to beat me like a piñata. But what you're going to find is transparency is action. It's a verb. It's not a noun. Transparency means you're constantly divulging information because the smarter I make Peter Kim can get off this talk we're having, walk away and go, if I ever do energy, that's the guy I'm doing it with. Now I just got to decide is energy what I want to do. That's the way it really should work. And I'm a complete investigator. Whatever I'm doing, I dig. I don't do it insulting. I just say, oh, that's nice. You did that. Can you show me how that worked for you and how you got those financial results? Well, that's kind of confidential. It's some private partners. I'm like, so you really didn't do it. You're just lying to me. Now, I may verbalize that because I'm a horse's butt sometimes, but I go, so you really don't have any proof of that. You're just telling me. And the key to this is important for all your medical professionals to understand. We are trying to earn your business. We're trying to earn your trust. You have worked thousands of hours to create the income you have. We have to give you what you want, or you should tell us to go pound sand. We're trying to earn your business. There's a difference. And you earn that business every single day because you have to convince and show them with facts and empirical data that what you're doing is the very best to manage their money. These other oil and gas sponsors don't do that. So that's why you and I talk about some of the topics we're talking about. I go, medical professionals make horrible investors. Horrible. You would tell you why? They are smarter than anybody else in the room, number one, unfortunately. Number two, they invest and they stop learning. They don't watch videos. They don't watch education. They don't show up at conferences. They'll call a year later and go, hey, here, I got 3 questions. You're like, really? Those 3 questions were like elementary school questions you should have asked before you put in the $1 million. Oh, yeah, but I just thought about it. Now I got to ask that question. And you're thinking, either you make money a lot easier than I do, or you just have this blind faith that somebody's going to take last year's income and not screw you to death, because that's what's going to happen. And that's the number one thing I think, is that they make the investment with no intention of really learning it. That's the biggest downfall.
Hey everyone, I have a quick question for you. Are you looking for a secure and reliable long-term investment strategy? Meet Eckard Enterprises. It's a family-owned and operated firm with over 35 years of experience specializing in U.S. energy and alternative investments. Here at Passive Income MD, you often hear me talk about the need to diversify. One of the safest investment strategies available today are mineral rights. And with Eckard Enterprises, you can diversify your portfolio. Their team is committed to helping private investors like you and me identify and develop successful, diversified portfolios. With an average return on investment of over 24% across their portfolios, the Eckard team is dedicated to helping you build and protect your wealth through long-term passive income. All of this while minimizing the risks associated with traditional investments. So check out Eckard Enterprises. If you want that great investment experience, go to eckardenterprises.com. Again, that's eckardenterprises.com. Joining a mastermind group was a pivotal moment in my life. Within the first year, my income tripled, and by year 4, it had increased 20-fold. But the benefits went far beyond financial gains. I found myself surrounded by a network of like-minded individuals, forming connections that would become lifelong friendships. And the collective wisdom and support from this community played a crucial role in my success and personal development. From these amazing experiences, I felt a strong desire to create a similar community for my colleagues and peers, and that's you. That's why I launched Momentum MD Mastermind. People have been asking what this is. Momentum MD, or MMD for short, is designed to offer the same transformational powers in both personal and professional growth that I've experienced. It's not just about increasing your income. It's about creating this amazing environment where you can thrive, learn, and grow alongside other ambitious and supportive like-minded individuals. MMD provides a space where members can share their challenges, celebrate their victories, and push each other and keep each other accountable to reach new heights. It's about building a network of professionals who are committed to helping each other succeed. We focus on actionable strategies, accountability, and fostering an environment of continuous improvement. So whether you're looking to advance in your career, start a new venture, or simply find more balance and fulfillment in your life, MMD is here to support you every step of the way. Now, if this resonates with you in some way and you're interested in learning more, we'd love to hear from you. To learn more about the Momentum MD Mastermind and to pre-apply for a call with us, please visit MomentumMD.com. Let's see how we can help elevate your life to the next level. There are limited spots, so don't wait. Take the first step towards your transformation today. You won't regret it.
They've got other things to think about. They're focused on, practices and building and growing their businesses. And this part, they do kind of want to make it a little bit of, I don't know if you want to say kind of brain damage free, I'd say in a way. Yeah. But they still know and have heard that this is a good area to invest in. And I know people are interested in the cash flow. Again, you said the tax savings. So how do you get people excited about kind of learning in the space and knowing more?
I don't think anyone will do anything at any point in time if it's either not for pain or gain. If I got up in the morning, if I didn't have to pee so bad, I'd probably just lay there for the next 5 hours, right? But I got to get up because my bladder's about to pop. So the pain says get up. Or I have an exciting day. I'm going to go do something fun with my grandkids or my wife. I go, hey, got to rock and roll. We're going to go fishing this morning, right? I think it's also true when it comes to deciding about investments. So from a doctor's perspective, a medical professional's perspective is, okay, what is it that you want? All right, I don't need you to give me income. I'm an expert. I make a lot of money doing what I do. What I want is something else to start making income without me having to put any brain power in it. Okay. So first thing you want is cash flow. Got that. So here, if that's true, watch. If that's true, don't do anything with the preferred return because you're not getting cash flow. You're getting an IOU with a promise. So automatically you just eliminated 80% of the debt funds because they don't give you cash. Second thing is I want cash flow. Well, what's your multifamily? What's your self-storage? What's this going to do? You'll get paid in 5 years. I don't buy banana seeds. I buy bananas because I want to taste the banana. So I think what you have to do is you have to say to yourself, okay, I'm going to, as the medical professional, write down what's important to me. Number one, I can't be drained of my time. I'm not going to become a geologist. I don't want to be an oil man. I want to find an oil man and invest with him. So number one is you can't deteriorate my family life, my work-life balance. I don't have the time. I have no bandwidth to learn all your crap, Troy. Thank you. Number two, I need to know I can trust you, that I can reach you 24 hours a day, that if I just have between surgeries and it's 5 o'clock on a Saturday morning, I can text you, you'll call me as soon as you get up. You need to know there's complete ability of communication between who you're giving your money to. Most of these companies are working on 1 or 2, 3 men in an executive suite. They have no back office. They have no accounts. They outsource everything. And what you find, the minute you ask a question, you're like a ghost. The third thing as a medical professional, I would say is I need to minimize my tax burden. It is a huge deal. The difference between being really wealthy and somebody who just makes a great income for 35 years is tax management. Ross Perot, when he ran for president in 1992 against George Bush, was worth like $1.8 billion. And he walks out there and everybody did all this background on Ross Perot because they go, well, what does Ross Perot care? He's got $1 billion worth of US zero coupon bonds and he doesn't pay any taxes. You know what? You shouldn't complain about it. You say, how did you do it? How did you become a billionaire buying zero coupon bonds in real estate and become a guy who pays less taxes than the guy that's making $2 million a year's income as a doctor? See, I think that's the problem. The problem is when you get that item that says, how do I mitigate my taxes? Well, here's the solution. Oil and gas is the largest tax deduction you get. But then there's a third element. After the tax deduction, how do I know that the principal beyond the taxes paid is going to be safe? Well, that's track record. Show me that you've been able to take my money, give me the tax write-off the IRS provides me, but you actually make me money. You know, Peter, I'm probably 20 years older than you. And I tell you, the one thing I've learned most in the last 5 years, it's like beams like a light. I'm trying to all my investors, regardless of age, we're all really smart and we all work really hard and we sacrifice family time and education. We do all that. And what we do is make a lot of income and we stop thinking about how to stop making income and start protecting the income we've already made. That's the biggest mistake we all make. If you just protect what you've already made, you don't have to work another 10 or 15 years. You now can work with the money you made to properly deploy it. And I think that's what I would say as a doctor or medical professional. Give me the 4 or 5 things you want and say, Mr. Sponsor, Mr. Oil and Gas guy, Mr. Real Estate guy, this is what I need. You tell me how you can give me those. And I might say, you can fudge a little bit on this one. I can take a lower rate of return. Maybe I can get quarterly cash flow instead of monthly, but I need all 5 things. And if you don't have one, you just drop 20% probability I'm going to invest with you. You drop 2, you're out. I had a business model, Peter, years ago. I had 10 criteria for any business I was going to do. And I ranked them 1 through 10. And what I would do is say, if that business idea doesn't rank an 85 or higher, it's off the list no matter what, totally unemotional. I do investments the same way. You don't give me a track record, that's a 0. You only got 10 categories. Guess what? It doesn't take 2 before you're below 85. So I just gave myself an unemotional way of investing. And I think that's why I say to you, why are doctors and medical professionals such bad investors? It's because they don't approach it with the same analytical approach. Now, let's face it. I have some engineers who have personalities like dead fish, right? I've got some doctors that have personality like dead fish. I've got a couple of farmers who said they stare at fields for 5 years watching seeds grow. I go, how's it going today? They go, good. You're like, that's it? 1 word? I mean, I would die being in a room with that guy for a week, but he's a great partner. But he says 1 word a week. That's it, because he's staring at fields all day long. So you, as the investor, you've got to decide how you want to engage that investment. Now, you and I are kind of probably, I would call both of us probably very investigative. We're both very extroverted in personality. Somebody says, hey, I got this great apartment complex in Austin. I want you to put $1 million in. Great. I want to spend $400 on Southwest Airlines. I'll be there tomorrow. I want to walk around the property and see it. And they go, oh, you're going to come to town? Oh, I'm not going to just come to town. I'm going to talk to people by the pool, the trash can guy, the guy mowing the grass. I'm going to talk to neighbors. And they go, oh, no, that place has been deserted. There's been 5 drug busts in the last 6 months. And they're like, no, don't come down here. But most people don't have the time. So if you don't have the time, this is it. This is why your podcast is so popular. This is why you are so important to your industry. You decided to do for other physicians and other medical professionals what they could not do, which is go investigate, find, search out the very best in class and bring it aboard. And that's what I do. I want to find the guy, the gal, the person that says, I will be your hound dog. I will be your warrior that goes and finds the best deals. Oil and gas is a tough business. It's incredibly profitable. It's a great business. But when you're going toe to toe with $1 billion company or having a partner like Exxon or Chevron, and they got your revenue, you can't go, well, Exxon will pay me one day. No, you find the head of revenue and go, you get him on the phone, or I will send him a letter from my lawyer. You got to be a warrior. That's not these other guys. These other guys aren't warriors. These other guys are playing, backup ninja on video games. They're not managing your money. So you as medical professionals, take 30 minutes a day. Don't care if it's before you go to bed at night, and sit down every day and say, what do I want for me and my family? Who can give it to me? And if the person I'm talking to can't give it to me, they go in the trash can. If that person responds and gives me feedback and gives me physical data, empirical information, that person stays on my list. This is a fact. If you had a list of 100 potential investments and 100 potential referrals and friends and, hey, invest with this guy, use this financial planner, I'll bet you if you do your 5 things, you'll never get more than 10 people on that 100-person list. You'll never get 10 people on that list. You'll have a struggle to get 6 or 7 on that list, because everybody, for the most part, is in it for themselves. They're greedy. They want their own money. They justify how important they are. I look at it this way. I say, every day I've got to earn Peter Kim's trust. Every day I got to earn his friendship. Every day I got to earn his being a part of my company, because I got to tell him every day I'm on watching his money. Medical professionals, you're so busy saving lives and taking medical care and doing all this great stuff that you guys do. The last thing you need is some jackwagon manage your money. I'm not going to the shade tree neurologist to get brain surgery. Sorry, I ain't doing it,
It's funny because when you and I first met, people were like, oh, well, how long have you known Troy? And I said, honestly, I probably knew you about a year and a half before we even started talking about this, because I was approaching this with that cautious mindset. I was trying to find out who you were, find out about the company, who else has been, investing with you for a while. Finally, when you get to a place of confidence, maybe I put a little bit in there, see what happens, see how it grows, see it builds, see these things for yourself. Meet other investors. I think that's been one of the biggest things too, is that one of the things I tell people all the time, and one of the things you've done so well is you bring a lot of people together in terms of the investors who have invested with you throughout that 40-year career. And so that's one of the things I would tell anybody to do is, whether it's, this investment, whether it's some other investment, talk to people who have been investing with that person, that group for however many years, through different market cycles, through that period. And you're going to learn sometimes more about the investment from them than you would actually from the actual person. And so I think that's been one of the best things about working with you and working with different people and your different partners that you've had, is that I've had the time to spend and talk to people about who you are and what you've done. So this has been a masterclass on due diligence overall. I think a lot of things you talked about can be applied to any investment in life. Hopefully people are taking notes on this. If not, you'll get this in the podcast show notes. I love talking to you, Troy, because you just tell it like it is. You tell people about what some of the pros are, the cons, the mistakes people made, what they should be doing, what they should not be doing. And I know a lot of people in our community have actually gotten a lot of value from what you had said.
I will tell you this as we depart. I have learned that lawyers, who can be expensive, but I will pay $1,500 to a lawyer. They have tools that I don't have. They have ways of finding out information on people like crazy. And I'll pick a phone. I'll call Mitch Little, my lawyer here in College. I say, hey, I'm trying to think about investing with this guy, Johnny Brown. That's what he does. He'll give me a report in 24, 40 hours and go, here's everything you want to know. And here's his background, the whole 9 yards. I'm like, how did you find that? We have different ways and services that we get into, right? Because they're looking for deposition stuff. And I tell you the one thing that I've learned, when you scrimp on the due diligence, you almost guarantee yourself a loss. Because the people we're competing with, they have unlimited amount of money because they're pulling a Ponzi scheme off, or they've marked it up 4 times the money. So when you think about you as an individual running due diligence, you're being outmanned by $5 for every dollar you have. So within your community and with what we're doing with all these different education, it's just empowering them to sit down and say, I got to do the same work to protect my money. And I think what you said was very important. When you and I started, I didn't know you, and we were introduced to each other. And I knew that you had an incredibly successful platform. And most platforms like yours are like, we're not letting anybody near my group. You're very protective of your group, which I love. And I said, well, let me come out and have lunch with you. And when you sit down and talk to somebody for a couple hours, you learn real quick, this guy's arrogant. This guy's a name dropper. This guy's, you ask him 3 basic questions. He's dumb as a rock, blah, blah, blah. But you took the time and you did the due diligence, and we got to know it. You came to my San Antonio conference and we've seen each other, et cetera. And I think the thing is, people cannot hold that fake fraudulent composure it put in different scenarios. They forget how they acted last time. I loved it. I talked to people 4 and 5 times and go, you are so different than you were 3 times ago. And that's definitely different than what I thought. And it's amazing just being ears up, radar on, how well you can ferret out people. And once you find the person that's good, here's the kicker. When you find the person that's good, keeps their word, that does as they what they're going to do, it's like finding that golden nugget that nobody else even knew existed. You go, that is the person I'm going to stay with, because that is a rare commodity. I find that in doctors, physicians, lawyers, CPAs. I have people I've done business with for 20, 30 years going, whatever that guy says to do, that guy is the expert, and I will do whatever he says because they have demonstrated that level of competency. It's very rare in this day and age.
Well, I think people learn a lot from this, Troy. Where can people reach out to you? How can they connect with you in case they want to find out more?
So here's the way I look at it. You can always go to our website, which is EckardEnterprises.com. On there is our app called Eckard Insights. It just gives you free access to just all the information, videos, training you want. It's probably information overload. You can always email me personally at Eckard, Eckard Enterprises. Ask me the questions. I'll either get you the accounting questions or the wealth managers will help you out. We're all about trying to figure out whether this is right for you or not. Or you can always call me on my cell phone, which is 469-422-1781. And believe it or not, I answer every single text and email and phone call. And the reason I do that is that I simply say, what would I want? If you want me to take you serious, Mr. Chairman of the Board, Mr. Big Shot at Eckard, maybe I could just have an introductory dialogue with you, and you can always pass me on to the right person, but you're going to be managing my money. I want to know who you are. And so that's why I get my cell phone out, and I do it every day, all day long, and I love it. But I will tell you this, Peter, we're headed for some very interesting times, and we're going to find out for the last 15 years, since 2010, we've not had really a downturn. We really haven't. We've had this little bubble in 2023. And I have the feeling we've never tested most of these so-called professional sponsors. They've never really had chaos to deal with. Chaos is coming. It's coming because of what's happening in the tariffs. So now it's more important than ever to see, I need to see some aging on my sponsors. I need to have better communication. I want to know how I can reach out to you, because there's going to be a lot of things with these tariffs and stuff that we're not aware of. Even in my sector, we're all looking at it from the energy going like, what's going to happen? So today is the day of all days in the last 15 years. You better work really, really hard at not only protecting your money, but where you invest your money. Because I think we're headed for some interesting times. I don't think they're going to be bad times. They're just going to be different. We better be really smart and sharp in our skills at this point in time.
All right. Well, thanks for sharing your knowledge with us. I hope everybody takes this to heart. Again, there's so much we can do better when it comes to due diligence. I know as physicians, oftentimes, again, we're so busy, we're tired, we're doing this, but nothing's more important than protecting the income that you've worked so hard to create. And you've already learned a bunch of the tools during this episode to be able to do this. Troy, I want to thank you for your time. Appreciate you as always, and excited for our next talk together. I'm sure there's always some cool things that we're going to learn from you. And obviously, we'll learn about the economy and the market too. So anyways, look forward to our next talk. Thanks, Troy.
Enjoy the show? Let me know by dropping a review in the podcast app you're listening to us in. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit subscribe. Join thousands of physicians who are also on this journey to creating their ideal lives through multiple streams of income. Learn more at our website, passiveincomemd.com. Thanks again for allowing me to be a part of your journey. See you next time.